And this is like the month before we have the Day of Judgment. This is the time period that we really gotta, get ready for the court to be very successful in our judgment. And we're supposed to increase in our learning of Torah, increase in tzedakah, increase in good deeds. This is the time period of increasing, doing great things. So let's go back. We're on page 55b, 1. And we spoke about yesterday, we're middle of the question of can there be death without sin or not? So we had the opinion of Rav Ami. Rav Ami says there's no death without sin. In order for there to be death, in order for a person to pass away, there has to be sin. And if there's no sin, the person won't die. To go up to heaven like Eliyahu Navi or whatever. He won't die. The Gemara challenged him by bringing a amazing discussion between the Malachim, the angels in heaven, that questioned God, that asked God, why was there death decreed upon Adam Harishon? Right? Why should Adam Harishon pass away? And we explained yesterday, Adam was called Yitzir Kapav Shel Kadosh Baruch Hu. God created him directly. In contrast to everybody else, God serves as he's the main partner, but there's the father, there's a mother, and there's a God. But Adam Harishon, when God took dirt from the ground and formed him, made him a person, why should he pass away? Why should he, even though obviously the Malachim knew that Adam did not listen to God's commandment, but they still were asking the question, why should it be death on Adam? Why such a strong punishment? If I presume that's their question. And Hashem says it's not obviously a strong punishment. Obviously, because the sin, what he did was, God says, I gave him an easy task. I gave him an easy thing. I gave him you could eat from all the trees in the garden. This one tree I said I can't eat from, and he did not eat, and he ate, and he violated it. Therefore, he's deserving of death. So then the Malachim asked, okay, but what about Moshe and Aaron? Moshe and Aaron, why was death decreed upon them? Meaning to say, now, he also, in the same way the angels knew that Adam had sinned, yet they asked the question, why was there death for Adam? So they asked about Moshe and Aaron. Moshe and Aaron, they kept the whole Torah, and obviously the Malachim did not feel that whatever they did wrong by hitting the rock would be a reason enough not to die. And then Hashem says no. No. So again, in this Braita, Hashem says you're right. But why was their death decreed upon Moshe and Aaron? Was because once God made it that Adam should pass away, that Adam should pass away, he made it that all people should pass away, whether they sin or whether they don't sin. So being that's the case, so it's not, meaning it's not the sin of Moshe or Aaron that made them die. It's because of, that's the way God made a decree across the board that everybody has to die. But this is the question of Rav Ami. Rav Ami said that the only time there's death is because it has to be sin in order to be death. But we see by Moshe and Aaron, there wasn't sufficient sin to cause their death, and yet they died. So the Gemara shoots back. So that's the question. So he says, the Gemara wants to say, who the Amakiyatana? He said, right, we're on 55b1, right, in the second paragraph. We said that he says Kiyatana. He holds like that Tana, Gemara Mordechai, the Tanya Shemir Af Moshe Aaron B'chetam Meitu. They also died as a result of the sin. Meaning, what happened as at Amim Riva when they hit the rock, that was enough to cause the death. That's a sin enough that caused the death of Moshe and Aaron, because they could have Shenema as opposed to Hudam. Let's see it in the second paragraph, just to bring Mordechai up to date. We have a opinion of Rav Ami and the Gemara that a person will not pass away unless they do sin. If there's no sin, if a person doesn't sin, they will live forever. The Gemara challenges his opinion because we find that Moshe and Aaron, in a discussion with the angels, seem to have died not because of sin. They've died because of Hashem made a decree of death for the world. For everybody has to die, even the people who are righteous has to die, not because the sin causes them, that because they deserve it because of their sin. So the Gemara says, but he holds like the other Tanhu the Amakei Tana, the Tanya of Shimon Allah Omer, Af Moshe v'Aaron b'chetem metu. Moshe and Aaron also died because of their sin. Shenema yan lo hamanten bi. Because the pasuk says, because you did not have trust in me, right? You didn't, or like by hitting the rock instead of talking to the rock. Because of that, and he understands. Now we could have said that's why they didn't go to the land of Israel. The pasuk says, but he's understanding that because you didn't hamanten bi, that's why you're not going to Israel, and that's why you're going to leave this world. That's why you're going to, you, Moshe and Aaron are going to die. Now,
sounds like a harsh punishment.
Sounds like a harsh punishment, right?
Yeah.
But obviously, it's the right. It's just Hashem is Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat. Hashem is the one who is called who loves righteousness and judgment, and Hashem is the just. Atzur Tomim Palo. Right, Hashem is his actions are exact. So obviously, even though it seems to us to be a strong punishment, obviously, and there is a concept that with righteous people, God is very more strong. There's higher expectations of righteous people, and obviously, by the fact that Moshe and Aaron will not go into the land of Israel, that they'll be buried outside the land of Israel, that will be a protection for all the Jews that are going to be living outside the land of Israel in the exile. In fact, the Moshe Rabbeinu was here with us in the exile, so to speak. He's buried outside the land of Israel. So there's many cheshbonot, there's many calculations why Hashem wants it, what the reason why God wanted to take his life and Aaron's life for that. Now, the Gemara infers, but he says, "Ha'emantem bi." The Gemara is understanding this Braita that because you didn't show that emunah, that level of emunah, that's why you're not going to the land of Israel, and that's why you're going to pass away. But if you would have hamanted bi, adayin lo yagiz zmanchem lipotem me'olam. If Moshe and Aaron, if you would have spoken to the rock, your time would not have reached to come to leave this world. You would have lived on forever. That's what the Gemara is inferring. We're going to see at the end they weren't going to move away from that. But that's so this writer says, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar says, Moshe and Aaron also died because of what? Because of sin. That's what this writer is saying, which the Gemara's thinking implies if they would not have sinned, Moshe and Aaron would not have sinned, they would not have died. That's what the Gemara is understanding. Now, so the Gemara at this point is thinking that this Braita of Rav Shimon ben Elazar that says, "Good morning, Asaf." The Braita of Shimon ben Elazar that says that Moshe and Aaron died because of their sin. Good morning, Simon. This Braita holds that sin. The Gemara is thinking it holds that in order to pass away, a person has to sin. So the Gemara is going to challenge. This is what someone brought up yesterday. Meitive, very famous Gemara. Simon walks in, famous Gemara. Arba meitu be'etyo shel nachash. There are 4 people that died because of the advice because of the advice of the snake. The snake told Chava, encouraged Chava to eat from the tree of knowledge, and she told Adam, and that is why they passed away. No other chait, no other sin, um, no other sin did they have that they should die from. So there is a pasuk that says that. What do you mean? It says Ein Tzaddik ba'aretz asher yasav lo yecht. Right? We're going to say there's four people. We're going to list four people that died not because of sin. They died because of the Nachash. We're going to mention Yishai, and we're going to mention Binyamin and so on. But what do we do with the pasuk that says there's no tzaddik in the aretz asher yasav lo yechta? Everybody sins. There's no tzaddik. There's no righteous person in ba'aretz, in this world. We live in this world, the aretz. We live in a physical world. Asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. That does good and doesn't sin. 24/7 for 120 years of a person's life, you never ever sin. So Tosfos says that's talking about the majority of people. That pasuk is talking most people sin. Even the righteous person sins, but he fixes it. He fixes himself up afterwards. But most people sin. But Marsha says, really, everybody sins. But they don't sin. They don't do sins that is worthy of death. This is what I was saying also before, right? I was saying when the angels asked the question, why is Moshe and Aaron leaving? They kept the whole Torah. Why should they die? What do you mean? They sinned. They spoke they hit the rock. But the angels were saying that that's not enough of a sin to cause death to the world. Like someone here said, like it seems strong, right? That they should die for that. So therefore, that is what the Gemara said. It's a new pshat. Till now we always learned the four people in the world that died that never sinned, right? That's how we always said. But the others learned even they sinned. What do we mean they didn't sin? They didn't sin sins that should be deserved of death. The only reason why they died was because of the gezerah, of the decree of death that Hashem brought to the world. But they also sinned.
Grave sin. Are we referring?
Grave sin, I mean heavy sins. That's what we mean by grave sin.
Oh, a sin that deserves death.
Sin
A sin that deserves death.
that deserves death, right?
We are talking about all this Hayamita stuff, or I'm talking about Moshe was not Hayam.
Right. So according to this writer, they were not deserved of sin. Whatever sin, again, these four people. We're going to talk about the four people. The four people, Yishai and Binyamin. According to this interpretation, even if they sinned in life, even if it says it's possible that they did sin. But whatever sin they did was so small that even though God made a decree of death to the world, they would not have been deserving of death, whatever type of sin they might have done in life. And the only reason why they died was because of the story of the snake that God decreed there should be death to the world. Therefore, they had to pass away. And that's what the Gemara says. Meitive arba meitu be'etu shel nachash. They died because of the snake. Or you can learn they actually didn't do any sins, right? There's two ways to learn, Mordechai, right? Two ways to learn. Who was the Elohim? Binyamin ben Yaakov. Binyamin the son of Yaakov. Amram Avi Moshe. Amram the father of Moshe. Yishai Avi David. Yishai the father of David. And Kilav ben David. David had a son Kilav. All four didn't sin. Now, it's interesting when I see this Gemara, it's interesting to note the individuals who didn't sin. Each individual that didn't sin, you have Binyamin, the son of Yaakov. So you could give a lot of credit to Yaakov. having a son who didn't sin didn't happen out of nowhere. A son that didn't sin, Binyamin didn't sin. He had a father of Yaakov. He had an amazing mentor to show him the ways of life to reach that level. And also, you could say Kilav, the son of David, the amazing influence having a father like David HaMelech. The amazing influence is that that son did not sin. Now, Amram Avi Moshe and Yishai, the father of David, we have to see more about who their mentors were, who their parents were, but we see the power of themselves, how their influence on their children. Amram, the father of Moshe. Moshe became greater than Amram in a certain sense. By the way, we also see an amazing thing. You could have someone who didn't sin in life, but not necessarily he's the greatest person in life. Because the idea is that Moshe Rabbeinu was greater than his father Amram, even though Amram never sinned. So, Rabbi, how could you tell me that Moshe was greater than Amram? If Amram, according to this Braita, Moshe sinned, whatever he spoke, he hit the rock, whatever sin he did, and yet he's greater than his father because Moshe's accomplishments in life. Sometimes when you go into public service, you become a big rabbi. You're a rabbi. And you know what? You deal with a lot of people. And you're trying to help a lot of people. It's possible that maybe you were a little too strong with somebody. You never want to be too strong with someone. It's possible that maybe you try never to, say anything, whatever, and whatever. It's possible that it's possible that you try to do something for the community and it wasn't a good idea. You unintentionally sinned, or you gave a verdict and you gave a ruling which was not correct. It's possible you made a mistake. Making a mistake is also a sin. Right? A person sins by making a mistake, it's a sin, unintentional sin. So perhaps we also see we see from this Gemara that the fact that you could be greater with a sin by doing obviously unintentional sins than someone who never sinned. Because when you get into the ring, when you get onto the court, you could, in basketball, you could foul someone. I didn't mean to foul the guy, right, Ralph? Unintentional foul, right? If you do an intentional foul, what do? They give the guy an extra shot from the right, if I recall correctly. Am I correct? Do we have any basketball people here? Right? Sometimes you get extra shot, intentional foul or whatever it is. But I'm just pointing out this phenomenon. You could have two people, Amram and Moshe. Amram goes down in history that he never sinned at all, or he never sinned a sin that's deserving of death. And nevertheless, Moshe is greater than Amram. Binyamin, the son of Yaakov. Who's greater, Binyamin or Yaakov? Yaakov is greater than Binyamin. But yet it says Binyamin never sinned. So that's just an interesting thing to look at. But so we see the influence we could say, of one's father on one's son, and therefore we need to be the fathers to have that influence on the children. And we also need to realize that, so we see both ways, that the father on the son, and
Binyamin didn't sin or Yaakov?
Binyamin didn't sin.
Yaakov sinned?
Yeah, and his level, whatever sin he did.
Luke happened. Well, I remember he took the heirloom, the heritage from Esau, right? And then someone, I don't remember the name.
But that wasn't a sin. But he did. But
he gave the heirloom to him because he wanted to kill him. Esau, I think.
Yeah, but Esav, Yaakov took the Bechorah, the firstborn ship from Esav. He didn't take it.
Right.
He bought it.
But he gave it to him back because he wanted to kill him. No.
He gave Eliphaz, the son of Esav. He gave him a lot of financial blessing. So just the great influence we could suggest of a father on the son. So two of these people became people that never sinned, two of the children of these great people, and then look also about the profound influence of, right? You have two people that didn't sit. We have two people that are listed here that are not that are part of the people that might have sinned, right? David HaMelech and Yaakov, but they go down in history of the fathers of two people that never sinned, right? So they had that tremendous impact. Even and then of course the people who never sinned, like Amram and Yishai, maybe that's why the children so great, like Moshe and David. Okay, now the Kulu Gemara. The Gemara says, how do we know that these four people died only as a result of the snake? That they themselves weren't deserving of death because of their sins? So the Gemara says 3 out of 4 we have a Masorah. We have some tradition handed down from generation to generation. Called like the oral Torah. Kulu Gemara levar me Yishai avi David. Except Yishai, the father of David HaMelech, King David, Yishai, we have the Mefurish Beikra. The pasuk is open about the fact that he never sinned. Yishai, the father of David, never sinned. Tiksiv, it says in the pasuk, V'es Amasa som Avshalom tachas Yoav al hatzava. Amasa, Avshalom, as you know, Avshalom made his rebellion against David HaMelech, against his father, and he placed Yoav, instead of Yoav was David's general, he placed Amasa. He placed Amasa, who was Ben Ish, who was the son of a man whose name was Shmo Yitra HaYisraeli. Amasa, the general, was the son of Yitra HaYisraeli, Asher bo el Avigal. And Yitra HaYisraeli married Avigal, who was the Bat Nachash. Avigal was the daughter of the snake. Bat Nachash, which sounds like her father's name is Snake, right? You say Avigal Bat Nachash, Achot Sruya, who was the daughter of Nachash. This girl Avigail was the daughter of Nachash and the sister of Sruya. Sister Sruya, who was the Aim Yoav, who was the mother of Yoav. So the Gemara asks the question: was Avigail the daughter of Nachash? Her father was Nachash. Bas Nachash. We know it says Avigail. We saw Hello Bet Yishai. Avigail was the daughter of Yishai. Hello Bat Yishai Have. She was the daughter of Yishai. Tiksiv V'achiotehem, and their sisters were Sruya v'Avigail. That Avigail was the sisters. Their sisters were Sruya and Avigail. So Avigail was not the daughter of Nachash. Avigail was the daughter of Yishai, right? It's talking about the sisters of Yishai's sons. Who were the sisters of Yishai's sons? Avigail and Sruya. So that's the case. So how could you call, if Avigail is the daughter of Yishai, how could you call Avigail a daughter of Nachash? So the Gemara says, you know why she's daughter of Nachash? Nachash is another name referring to Yishai, because Yishai passed away only because of the sin of the snake. That on his own, Yishai would not have been worthy to pass away. Either he never did any sin, or he never did a sin that's deserving of death, and therefore the pasuk is telling us that she's called the daughter of Nachash. And by calling her the daughter of Nachash, is a very great compliment to Yishai, right? If you call Yishai Nachash, you call Yishai snake, right? You call him snake. Why do you call him snake? Because you're alluding to the fact that he should not die because of his sins. The only reason why he's dying is because of the story of the snake that caused Chava to cause Adam to eat from the tree of knowledge. Yes. Abigail was according to, and remember he had many wives, Yishai, right? Now, the Gemara says exactly. We have to see which Palakshim, we have to know look into, exactly all what type of, what wives, or, were they child of Palakshim, so you have to see more. If he had if he had Palakshim, we have to check, we have to see more detail. That's Bathsheba. Now, the Gemara says, "V'chi bat Nachash have." Was she the daughter of Nachash? V'halo bat Yishai have. She was the daughter of Yishai, right? Let's take a look at the Tanakh for a second. 1 second. So the Gemara says, let's see what the Gemara says over here. So the Gemara says, "Hello, how about Yishai Havi?" So the Gemara says, "The Ksiva Chiyotei Misri v'Avigail Ela Bat Mi." She's the daughter of Bat Mi. She made Bet Yoshenocha. So one of the daughter of the one who died as a result of the advice of the snake. By the way, the Gemara is going to bring about the story of David HaMelech. The Gemara soon is going to be talking about anybody who says that David HaMelech sinned is making, meaning that whole story. Let's see where the Gemara says Kolam b'nei Eli sinned. Let's see, I think it's coming up. We're going to be learning about that story with David HaMelech. Yes. Anyone who says that David sinned is making a mistake. Right, but Bathsheba, right? That's what we're going to see about the story of David and Bathsheba that Simon was alluding to. Okay, so the Gemara says, now, Mani, who was the author of this Braita? This Braita says that 4 people, right? 4 people died because of the advice of the snake, right? Meaning, if we say 4 people died for the advice of the snake, that means this refutes Rav Ami. Rav Ami said nobody dies without sin. This Braita says that that 4 people died without sin, right? So now, and who was the author of this Braita? Now, beforehand, Ilay Matana de Malachei Sharet. Are you going to tell me the author is the author of the Braita that we had this discussion of the angels, right? Remember the discussion of the angels, and the angels said, why is Moshe and Aaron passing away? And what was the God's response? God's response was, everybody has to die. So which seems to indicate, according to that Braita, Moshe and Aaron also were not deserving of death, according to that Braita. The only reason why they're dying is because everybody needs to pass away, even if they're not deserving of death based on their sins. So we see, so that's not like Rav Ami, because Rav Ami. So this Braita, again, we have the first Braita which says Moshe and Aaron also were not deserving to die based on their actions. And this Braita that says there are only 4 people that were not deserving to die. So the author of this Braita that says it's 4 people and doesn't count Moshe and Aaron, so the author of this Braita is not the author of that Braita, right? Because according to the previous Braita, even Moshe and Aaron are not deserving of death. So therefore, there's 6 people who are not deserving of death. So if this Braita says there's 4 people not deserving of death, and you have a different Braita that says is Moshe and Aaron not deserving of death based on their actions, so therefore they're not in sync, those 2 Braitos. So therefore, this Braita cannot be like the previous Braita. It's not the same. But what they are the same is there are people that die without, they both agree the people that die without death. The only question is Moshe and Aaron part of the group or not part of the group? The first Braita says this, I got Moshe and Aaron's part of the group, you have 6. The second one is only 4. Right? So the Gemara says, are you going to tell me the author of this Braita is the same author of the Braita of the Malachi Sharet? It can't be, because Va'ika Moshe Aaron, then this Braita who lists 4 should have listed 6 people die without sin. Elalav, so who is the author of this Braita? Rav Shimon ben Elazar. It's Rav Shimon ben Elazar. And you remember, Rav Ami, who was the Amor, the later rabbi, wanted to support his opinion with, now he is refuted, the Braita of Malachi Sharet is against him, because that shows you even Moshe Aaron died without enough cause, so to speak, meaning their sins, of course, there's a reason, but their sins weren't enough, so that's not in sync with Rav Ami's opinion. So who is his opinion? So the Gemara said before, he goes like Shimon ben Elazar, who said that Moshe and Aaron also died because of their sins. And he wanted to say, you see, they died because of sins, but if they wouldn't have sinned, they would have lived forever. But then the Gemara says, El Shimon Elazar. But this Braita over here, if he's not going like the Tana of Malachi Sharet, it has to be that this Braita who quotes there are 4 people goes like Rav Shimon Elazar, who lists Moshe and Aaron as not of the 4. Moshe and Aaron died because of their sin. They died because of their sin. But that Tana is not saying that if they would not have sinned, they would have lived forever. Because this Braita says, I have 4 people that die without sin. And who's the author of this Braita? The author is Rabbi Shimon Elazar, who says Moshe and Aaron died because of sin. So the Gemara originally thought Moshe and Aaron died because of sin, implying the Gemara thought if they wouldn't have sinned, they would have lived forever. And we're saying no, because the author of that Braita holds that there are people that die without sin. 4 people. So what does the Braita mean? The Braita just means to say there are people that die without sin, and that's the 4 people. And Moshe and Aaron, they're not part of that group because they had certain sin that they died because of. But that doesn't mean that they would have lived forever if they would not have sinned, because the author holds there are people that passed away even without sin. Is it clear? It's a lot going on. That's what the Gemara says. Elav Rav Shimon Elazar. Shma Mina, we've derived Yesh mita b'lo chet. There's death without sin. V'yesh yisurim b'lo avon. And there could be pains without sin also. Maybe pains of ahava. Hashem might give someone a pain to give him certain pains, to give him extra reward in the next world. V'tiyufta de Rav Ami. And the Gemara says this is a knockout of Rav Ami. The Gemara now refutes Rav Ami's opinion. So the Gemara concludes. A lot of times the Gemara brings a machloket, doesn't give you a conclusion. Gemara brings something, but here the Gemara concludes there's such a thing as death without sin. Either it's without sin at all, or death without sin that the person's sins themselves might not be deserving of death, but because of the sin of Adam HaRishon, that God decreed death for the world, and once there's death coming to the world, so we're living in this world, so everyone needs to die, even if their sins are not sufficient to die. Now, obviously, Hashem takes the person's life in this world. Obviously that person, the reward for such people who obviously who are not deserved based on their own actions to pass away, their reward in the next world is unbelievable. But it also shows you the power of sin. That Hashem decreed death to the world because of Adam's sin, and it's such a terrible thing how what sin brings things to the world. But we should all merit. We're now in today is Rosh Chodesh Elul. We should all merit increase in our mitzvot and masim tovim. Have a great day, everybody, and a Chodesh Tov and a beautiful day. All the best. We're back tomorrow. Looking forward. Take care, Ralph. Take care, Asaf. Take care, Aaron, and everybody. All the best.